Welcome to CLC News. Today is the 25th of January 2020. We'd like to commence today with just a brief update regarding David Noakes and Lynda to explain the current position they're in. Now, as far as I'm aware, Lynda is still in prison in France, and the situation regarding David Noakes is that they had issued an extradition warrant against him, and he was supposed to hand himself in to be transported immediately to France, where he would be detained unlawfully in prison pending a trial. Now, unfortunately, Lynda is still in prison in France. She's been there for a number of months now. Her health is not great. As far as I'm aware, I don't think they're allowing visitors in as well, but we need to try and do something as soon as possible to get her out. Now, in relation to David's position, David is slightly different because, as far as I'm aware, he hasn't handed himself in, but there is an extradition warrant out against him. So, with the common law court, what we've actually decided to do is, while assisting, we have actually found out within their own system what we can do about this. In relation to the common law court, there has been 2, if not 3 hearings to address this issue. We have prosecuted judges, found them guilty, and that's 2 judges, one in England and one in France, which is Nicholas Lorraine Smith and Judge Godoud in France. We have also prosecuted the Lord Chief Justice in relation to this, and they've all been found guilty of crimes against David and Lynn and crimes against the people. Boris Johnson himself was given an order from the court and told that he had to get Lynda back immediately, which he's failed to respond to. So, despite the fact that the people pay salaries for these individuals, they are ignoring the authority of the people, they're ignoring a lawful court order, and they're assisting in the unlawful kidnapping and detention of Lynda and the prosecution of David. So, because they won't play ball in relation to that, and they don't wish to acknowledge the common law court, we have actually been pushing the various hearings, and we managed to get a result, first of all, in the extradition case for David Noakes. The judge had a prepared statement, and she had given a decision from the court confirming that she was handed this decision and confirming that she'd never made this herself. So she was given a pre-prepared judgment, but within that judgment she referred to the fact that the common law court had issued a court order against various parties, including the 2 judges concerned in relation to the matter. Now, the fact that they actually confirmed that the common law paperwork exists in the common law court order, that's giving validity to this, and also the fact that she had mentioned that she had said she couldn't accept it because it had been issued by a court not known to this one, which literally means the statutory courts. Now, if the order had been issued, which it had been, she had confirmed that fact. She had no authority to ignore that. Not only by ignoring it, she has decided to continue to prosecute and try to hold David before his extradition to Paris, where he'll be put in prison for crimes which supposedly he's already been tried for. But the fact that they have actually admitted that the common law court paperwork exists, what should have happened is that before any action was taken, there should have been a separate hearing to establish which court has superiority, the common law court or the statutory courts, meaning who has superiority, the people or their corporations. Unfortunately, they wouldn't do this, but they just decided to proceed against David. Now, what we're going to do just now is cover some information which has allowed us to address this through their existing system. I'm going to cover a situation regarding a recent court case in Portsmouth, which was just over a week ago, to let you know about the similar practice that's happening there and the use of the legal fiction against a living man. And then what we'll do is I'm going to give you an update regarding the website and what's currently going on. There will actually be a second video going out after this one to deal with one issue. It's to deal with the issue of void orders, which we'll now discuss. But there'll be a separate video for that, and it's by way of an explanation to the process. So, if we get back to David and Lynn just now, what we'd like to do is just point out a few basic things for anyone who's not aware of the story. David and Lynn have been involved with a product, GC Math. Now, GC Math is being used to address various ailments and illnesses with success, and there is various papers, numerous papers, confirming the validity of this product, obviously the impacts in relation to various diseases and the success rates. Now, there is nothing wrong with this, but because the pharmaceutical companies are not making money on it, they wanted David and Lynn prosecuted, and they wanted to shut this down. Now, they're using various charges and crimes against them, but basically they're using terrorism laws and money laundering laws to attack them, which is ridiculous. But given the amount of money that obviously the pharmaceutical companies are making, it's no wonder that they wanted to try and shut them down. Now, what's happened through using this legislation, they've decided to attack a living man and a living woman. But having done that, they're using statutory legislation to do so. Now, there's a slight problem here, because to use statutory legislation according to their own rules, they have to have, first of all, authority and jurisdiction, and there also has to be a valid contract. Unfortunately, they don't have any. Now, if they don't have any, they cannot proceed to prosecute him or her, and they cannot deal with this matter. They do not have permission to adjudicate. However, they're not interested. Because they want an end result, they just continue anyway. Now, I'm going to cover a couple of things just now, just to show you what we mean by this. For referring back to a couple of hundred years ago, 200-300 years ago, it says slavery, everyone believed, was actually abolished. Everyone's seen, or you may have seen, the film about William Wilberforce, and the film's called Amazing Grace. Well, what actually happens is he went to Parliament annually to submit a bill to try to abolish slavery. Now, eventually the bill was passed, and we had thought, or everyone thought, that slavery was abolished. That's technically not correct, because we can find out through the Hansard papers at the time, which is the papers recording everything said in Parliament. We found out that William Wilberforce had confirmed that the practice of slavery was unlawful. But what they've done is cease this, and they've legalised it. Now, by legalising this, they've actually used the legal fiction to do so, which has been confirmed in the Hansard papers. Now, within the courts, when they wish to punish you, they punish you by using the legal fiction. Now, the legal fiction was given to you at birth, it was set up at birth by the government, and then they attach it to an individual. So effectively, you're continuing as a slave. An interesting point I picked up as I was watching some television over the festive period. There was a comment about Warren Buffett, who at one point was the world's richest man. Now, he came out with quite a few good comments, but this is one of which was when he looked at the American independence, a Declaration for Independence, he actually pointed out the fact that all men were created equal. He then made the comment that that wasn't necessarily correct, because what they actually meant was all men are created equal unless you are coloured, which was proven, but obviously, to be quite fair, this is they've actually changed over the years, and we're supposed to obviously now have everyone on a level playing field. Now, we mentioned America just now because obviously he's over in America, but this is applicable to each and every other country throughout the world. The interesting thing he also pointed out, although they've dealt with the issue of slavery seemingly in America, he then turned around and he says, well, it'd be interesting to see how the females thought about it, because at the time females were treated like second-class citizens as well. So that has changed over the years as well, but again, it's another interesting comment. Now, the last point to highlight is that the fact is everyone believes that they're actually free. They have inherent birthrights, but nobody claims them. We actually work and operate within a system, and you're actually bound into slavery through the use of the legal fiction. They actually dictate what you can and cannot do, meaning the authorities, big money, corporations. They decide what's acceptable, and you're given privileges. The privileges are things which you have anyway because they're inherent rights, but because the state can make money out of them, they decide to charge you for them. So you have an inherent right to travel. So you can travel as a free man, as an individual, a living man, that's fine. However, they've decided that they'll make money on it. So what they're going to do is charge you for it. But instead of just charging you, they let you believe that it's a privilege, and they then issue licenses to do so, saying it's a privilege to obtain a license, so therefore everyone then requires one, and you're happy to pay the money, and because you're in their system, you abide by their rules, and they can prosecute you accordingly. But on this subject, this is where we're going to change it. I'm going to show you a video just now I'd like you to look at. Now, this is used for information purposes and educational purposes. For those of you who is a little bit older, you may actually remember this series. I think it was in the 70s it came out. I'll let you watch this just now, just to get across the message of the name attached to the individual. And then once you've seen this, we'll come back and we'll explain this a little bit further. Okay? Thank you.
James, your name is Toby. I want to hear you say it. Your name is Toby. You're going to learn to say your name. Let me hear you say it. What's your name?
Kunta Kinte.
When the master gives you something, you take it. He gave you a name. It's a nice name. It's Toby. And it's going to be yours till the day you die. Now, I know you understand me, and I want to hear it. Again! I want to hear you say your name. Your name is Toby. What's your name?
Kunta.
Lord God, help that boy. They're gonna whip him dead.
What's your name? Say it. Toby. Who are you? Say your name. What's your name?
Toby.
Hi. Say it again. Say it louder so they all can hear you. What's your name?
Toby. My name is Toby.
Hi. That's a good nigger. Cut him down.
Interesting video. Well, we'll come back to the issue of the name. As we clearly saw there, the fact that the slave owner had purchased a slave, it's no use having the name that the slave wants, because obviously it doesn't give him the control that he requires of the authority. So the master had decided that he would take the name given to him by the slave owner. Now, once the slave accepts the name, he's then obviously bound into slavery. Now, they have done this with David Noakes and Lynda, because what they've done is they've attached a living name. In the case, it's Mr. or Miss for obviously David and Lynn. They prosecuted them by using the legal fiction. Unfortunately, they didn't actually prosecute the living man or the living woman because they didn't have any authority over them. Now, they've used this, and this has opened up a loophole, because what they're doing is actually called criminal coercion. We saw just now that the slave in the video was told that he had to accept the name. He refused to accept the name, and in doing so he was then punished. Now, within the courts in this country, they do exactly the same. They can fine you, they can prosecute you, fine you in contempt of court, they actually throw you into the cells, detain you, all with the threat of further punishment unless you accept the name. But as soon as you accept the legal name, they've then got you within their system. That then gives them the right to punish you. Now, this happens in every court throughout the UK. It happens in courts throughout the world, the use of the legal fiction. It is criminal, it's called criminal coercion. They're actually using this against you, and they're telling you that you must accept this. Now, under common law, natural law, law of the land, whatever you want to call it, even God's law, or your Creator's law, depending on your faith, this is unacceptable. It's unacceptable, it's a law, but even within their own system, the statutory rules, it's also unacceptable. If you look at the United Nations, it tells you that slavery is banned in all forms. Well, the use of the legal fiction is a form of slavery, and yet the countries still use it. Now, the situation regarding David Noakes and Lynda, we've pointed out quite clearly to the courts what they're doing. We've pointed out to the government, the ministers, and even Boris Johnson, and yet they're ignoring all this to attack individuals and causing harm, loss and injury to the people in this country, not only here but potentially worldwide, because of the work that they were doing. They couldn't care less as long as they're happy, but they're using legal fictions to do so. Now, if everyone turns around and said, well, this is a bit ridiculous because we don't get whipped now, okay, you're saying slavery, so we would disagree with it. What we'd like to do now is point to another situation. Today is the 25th of January. I can confirm that yesterday, being the 24th, there was an individual in for an operation. Now, the operation that he was in for was in Portsmouth. He had to attend court in Portsmouth recently because he had been to support a friend in court, and when he went in, he was prevented from going into the court by the security, first of all, because they don't want members of the public to see what the courts do. He'd obviously insisted that he got into the court, and when he did so, after hearing and seeing the way the judge behaved, he came out at the end and there was a few comments exchanged with the security staff. Now, having came away from that, he was informed later that the security staff had actually lodged a complaint against him and said that he was threatening him. So therefore he was charged with assault and threatening behaviour, I think. So he had to appear in court. Now, when he went to court in Portsmouth just over a week ago, he informed the judge that he was challenging his authority and jurisdiction. So that didn't go down well. And when he did so, the judge was going to ignore him anyway. Now, it was, I'm saying judges, it was magistrates. So the magistrates were in court. Now, the magistrates had decided they didn't want to speak to him, so they had appointed a solicitor for him. Now, the solicitor turned up on the day in question and went to speak to this individual to say he'd be representing him, so he was giving his marching orders. Now, that didn't go well with the judge, the magistrate, and the magistrates had decided, well, we can't do anything about it, so they'll let the solicitor go. There was then a break for a while, so he was made to wait a couple of hours before he was actually taken into the court hearing. But when he was taken into the hearing, he was asked to identify himself as the individual, the fiction, with the title Mr. He refused to do so, stating that he was a living man and that he wouldn't step forward into the dock, as they call it. Now, they weren't happy about that. He said that he will have to identify himself and accept this fiction and address himself as the Mr., which he wouldn't do. Now, having said that, the magistrates decided to find him in contempt of court, to charge him, and they got up and left the courtroom. As they were doing so, I think a number of security staff, maybe anywhere from 6 to 8 security staff, came into the courtroom and as he got up to turn to go away, they actually said that they were taking him downstairs because he's found in contempt of court. He said he wouldn't go, and they immediately jumped on him and started punching into him. Now, this was unprovoked. They give him a hiding. They actually beat him up quite badly, and he has a number of ribs which were badly bruised. Luckily enough, it wasn't broken. Now, a friend who was attending court with him got on the phone to phone the police, and were waiting for the police to come. But during that time, the security staff who had been laying into him and obviously physically assaulting him in the courtroom had hit him in the face, and he ended up badly bruised. They took him downstairs to the cells. The police came later on to take him away. They took him back to the police station, charged him, but when they realised how bad he was, they released him on bail so he could attend the hospital. Now, it was found out that when he went to the hospital, the security staff within the courtroom had beaten him up that badly that he is a strong possibility they could lose his eyesight in one eye. They had actually damaged the socket that badly that he had to undergo an operation yesterday, and they went in, cut out around the side of the eye. They had to go in and reconstruct the socket, and I think they were putting in a metal plate. They had to take the eyeball out of the socket. They had to basically clean all the area around him, the skin and that, build up the eye socket, and then piece them up together again and put everything back together. Now, as it happens, this individual had been in for this operation. He's got out today and returned home. So we don't know what the effects are yet regarding his eyesight. Touch would all be okay. But this is the sort of thing that's happening in our courts today. Because someone would not accept the legal fiction attached to him, which is slavery, he was beaten up within a court, and this was done on the instructions of the magistrate in the court. Now, the magistrate knew what he was doing. It was criminal coercion. It's a crime, and they were actually forcing him to take this ownership of this name, which is a criminal offence. Now, within the programme you watched just now, which came from Roots, you saw the slave told to accept the name of Toby. When he refused to do so, he was whipped and actually beaten to an inch of his life. Now, within the UK, we have this happening within the UK. Not once, but it's happening daily in all the courts of the UK. They're using criminal coercion to target individuals and to prosecute them. So the courts and the judges are committing crimes against the people. They're using this fiction, and if you dare stand up and say that you're not accepting the fiction attached to you, you're then beating up for it. You're arrested, you're fined, you're thrown in jail, you're detained. It's criminal what they're doing. Yet the United Nations have turned around and says that it's forbid, that they cannot force you into the system. You have the right to stand as a living man or a living woman. You can actually stand there without obviously accepting the fiction, and they cannot do anything to you. Yet these magistrates, judges and the courts are using this to attack people. They are committing crimes against the people. It's not only in the UK but worldwide by using this system, and in doing so they're guilty of genocide against the people because of what they're doing. It's disgusting and it should be addressed. Now, there is a way around it. We've had success trying various things just now. However, what we're going to do now is highlight one or two other issues regarding their own system that they use and basically what can be done. So we're going to obviously call it a day just now. We've had just over 20 minutes just now, well, maybe 25 minutes. What we're going to do is let you know that there's a video going up shortly to specify a way around it. Now, this is using their own system and using the option to void their existing orders, which is actually quite good. So hopefully you've enjoyed this update regarding David and Lynn. It's clarifying yet again what the courts are doing within the system regarding criminal coercion. We'll continue to highlight this just now, but hopefully remember, please subscribe to the video channel, show this to your friends, get the message out, and hopefully join us again shortly. There will be a second video going up later today to explain about the void decisions and what impact this is and how you can work it. And then after that, we'll now be putting up videos on a regular basis. So please share the message and join us again shortly. Thank you. Goodbye.